Anyway, this is part 2 about the crop circles and the talk of Lucy Pringle. The point that I got to was that after her talk, the group of about 25 people decided that they wanted to see whether they could create a crop circle and sort of influence its design. So what they did is they came up with a design which was a geometric, mathematical sort of formula, very complicated. And then they drew it out, and then they all concentrated on it with a view to getting a crop circle. Anyway, 2 or 3 days later, the crop circle in the same form duly appeared in a field nearby, except in the crop circle, they corrected the mathematics, because in their draft that they'd done after the meeting, they'd made a few mistakes. So clearly something was listening in and picking up the thought forms. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's the gnomes, because the gnomes are incredibly smart, and they actually would immediately pick up if you'd done the wrong mathematics. Now, there's also part of this. There's a book actually that's coming out next year by Lucy Pringle and a bloke called Jim Lyons. Now, Jim Lyons is very much into the magnetic universe theory. You know, the idea that the Big Bang is actually, well, we know the Big Bang is rubbish, but the thing is, what's the alternative? And he says that actually he's one of these people that's following this sort of electromagnetic origin of the universe, because you can, if you go on the electromagnetism, which is about almost 100 times stronger than the gravitational pull, you can describe the motion of the galaxies and the motion of the planets and everything without resort to things like dark matter and equations that don't kind of like quite, so they might work at one point, but they don't work at another, and you don't need black holes, and you don't need all sorts of other things to make the system work. Anyway, she's written this book with Jim Lyons, and she's done lots and lots of research in relation to crop circles with him. And he's very interesting. And one of the things he said is that actually, that, you know, what you've really got to, you haven't got to do anything, of course, but one way to look at it is if you just imagine that there is like a, like a torus, Touros, that sort of like donut-shaped thing, the form of like a donut, you know, hollow, a donut with a hole in the middle, that torus shape, and that actually when you've got a crop circle, in terms of the imagination of it, it's like a sphere that is half in the earth and half out the earth, and it's like you've kind of cut across through the middle of the sphere, and the pattern in the middle of the sphere is the pattern of the crop circle. I don't know if I haven't made that very clear, but anyway, what they're saying is that it's not just something that only exists at ground level, it's something that's more of a sort of a spiritual form that, sort of is like a sphere. So you look at the round crop circle, but then if you actually look at that almost in 3 dimensions, and like cut through it, and that's actually what your crop circle you've got. It's a lot more complicated than I've just said, and I haven't actually explained it very well. But this book's coming out in 2019, and promises to be an interesting read. Anyway, that's really what I wanted to say.